I wanted to especially thank my wife who came down with me tonight. My wife does not like my driving, so she actually had her own separate prayer service in the car pretty much all the way down. But we made it safely. When I was invited to make remarks of appreciation tonight, my first instinct was to appreciate everyone, because we really do appreciate all of you being here. But I would like to use my time instead to appreciate someone who is not here. Her name is Judith Marcy, and she died 2 weeks ago today, on December 30th, at the age of 66. And I want to talk about her impact on one person. One person's impact on one person. The Talmud tells us that the reason that God placed Adam on earth alone was to show us that he who destroys a single soul is viewed as if he had destroyed the entire world. And he who saves a soul is viewed as having saved the world. In the Talmud, it comes up in the discussion about punishments for taking human life. And if the phrase sounds familiar, it's probably because Steven Spielberg adopted it as the tagline to his movie Schindler's List about saving Jewish lives during the Holocaust. But viewed in context, it means more than that. It speaks to the preciousness of each human life, not just to the life itself, but of its quality and its dignity and its richness. Back to Judith Marcy. Judith Marcy was a kindergarten teacher. When she died 2 weeks ago, it was a year or so after she had retired from 40 years of teaching. In her 40th and final year, she changed my son, Zach's, life. Zach's last year of preschool was a disaster. His self-confidence was shattered when he was criticized in school for not doing things that he just couldn't do. He cried sometimes when I dropped him off, even more when Michelle picked him up. His skills leveled off, and Michelle and I knew that we needed to make a change. The next year, he started kindergarten at a new school with Judith Marcy. Judith Marcy got to know our son, and she decided that she was going to make things work for him. When he got upset because he couldn't do something, she gave him a hug, encouraged him to take a break, and then told him to go try again. She learned about the superheroes he liked. She found out what he was good at, and she reveled in his successes. She found out what he needed to work on, and she took advantage of how much he adored her to make him focus. She had him sit next to her because she figured out that he liked being her assistant, and he'd work harder if she sat in there. She learned how his hearing aids worked, and when things got too noisy for him during school assemblies, she'd sit with him in another room. With Michelle and me, she was kind and compassionate, but blunt. And everything changed for Zach. He liked school again. He made friends. He became a serious reader. He greeted every teacher and almost every student by name in the hallway. Lots of people have been involved in Zach turning things around. First and foremost, Zach himself and my wife. But without Mrs. Marcy, he wouldn't be where he is today. And who knows what Zach will become when he grows up, or even a year from now. But whatever it is, he will owe no small part of it to Mrs. Marcy. Judith Marcy was diagnosed with metastatic bone cancer shortly after Zach's school year started. She was in a lot of pain, but she not only worked the entire year, she never told any parents about her condition. She didn't want it to be a distraction. And for at least one kid, her skill, her compassion, and her courage profoundly changed his life. The governor and Carla, to their credit, have established service as the theme of this inaugural. The service has many forms: service to the public and government, service to others through volunteerism, service to country and the military, and service to those close to us in their jobs and our lives. What Judith Marcy did for Zach at a time when she was suffering herself was extraordinary service, and something for us all to aspire to in whatever type of work we do. And although Judith Marcy's standard is a daunting one, there are many people in our state every day who dedicate themselves to changing the lives of those in need, one at a time. They too are a blessing. Each of us has the opportunity to change a life. Each of us has the opportunity to be a blessing. I am not only grateful for what Mrs. Marcy did for my son, but I am inspired to do better myself, to be the type of blessing to others that she was to us. Thank you for being here tonight.